Welcome back, everyone, to the Boiling Point Podcast. This is episode 31, the news report. I had to turn this episode into an audio podcast only. I was having trouble with my camera and my sound being synced up again. I'm not sure exactly what's causing it, but I will continue to look into it. But there's lots of visuals in this one, so it's not that big a deal if you can see me or not. You can always listen. Most of my podcasts you can just listen to. If you are watching it, then there will be visuals for you to watch, for you to look at, is what I meant to say there. First of all, let me say that if you do enjoy the podcast, please like, comment, share, subscribe. And again, you want to do those things not for our benefit, but because of the algorithms that most social media websites use. The more you like, comment, share things, the more they'll show up in your feed and your friends' feeds, and that will allow us to reach more people. You can also buy some apparel. You can go to bonfire.com/store/JDEDESIGNz, and that's with a Z. Or you can go to bonfire.com/store/The Boiling Point Podcast. That's where the Boiling Point Podcast gear is going to be now. I made a storefront for the podcast gear exclusively. And don't forget to follow us and check us out on social media. We're on Facebook.com/The Boiling Point Podcast, Facebook.com/JDEDESIGNz with a Z. If you buy posters that are also on my Facebook, then that will also support the podcast. You can follow me personally on Instagram, JDE Poster Designs, and that's with a Z. You can also look up the links to the information that I'm going to be delivering to you all on this podcast. The timeline is on USA Today. You should be able to see the web address. It's a good timeline from everything all the research and everything I've done. This is the most clear-cut timeline that's out there. That's easy to follow. It's easy to understand. So that's what I'll be going off of here for the first segment. If you're not watching on Rumble, I suggest you switch over, because after the first segment, that's where you'll be able to listen to the segment. Second segment is on Rumble. The second segment will be talking about big tech and how they're violating law and the First Amendment. That will be exclusively on Rumble in the second segment of this episode. But first, let's talk about the events on January 6th and go over the timeline. And for that, we're going to start on what most news sources are saying was the beginning of this, a tweet on December 19th that President Trump made. He said, "Big protest in D.C. on January 6th. Be there, will be wild." I'd like to point out that he said protest in there and not riot. He never at any point in time was he inciting violence, asking people to do violent things, or anything like that. None of that actually happened. And we're going to go over the entire timeline here so that you can understand that that did not happen. Because his tweets, although deleted, were public record, and they are reported in this story on USA Today. The Trump had a rally at 11 a.m., the Save America rally. His sons spoke. Rudy Giuliani spoke. Trump started speaking shortly before noon at 11:50 a.m. During the speech, he says, "And after this, we're going to walk down there, and I'll be there with you. We're going to walk down to the Capitol, and we are going to cheer on our brave senators and congressmen and women." Now, he didn't actually go down to the Capitol building with the protesters, but again, at no point in time did he say to take over the Capitol building or to riot. He wanted the people to gather to cheer on senators and congressmen and women that were going to object to the vote, object to certain electoral votes, which is why he wanted the people to show their support. Because what actually happened on January 6th did not help President Trump at all. In fact, it pretty much sealed him leaving office. So if you're a Trump supporter, yes, and there were some Trump supporters in this. There were some legitimate Trump supporters who got caught up, but they were not the organizers. They were not the ones calling the shots out there on the field. You can hear people in the videos and stuff giving out commands and telling people what to do. Those are not the Trump supporters. That's Antifa. There's plenty of evidence out there to support that these were not Trump supporters, but non-Trump supporters just dressed up as Trump supporters to help seal his fate, which it ended up doing anyway. People have already been arrested. Again, President Trump was not calling for a riot. He was calling for a protest. So at 1 p.m. is actually when the lawmakers gather for a joint session in the House and in the Senate to certify the electoral votes. At 1:10, rioters begin grappling with police on the Capitol steps. At 1:26, Capitol Police order evacuation of the Library of Congress, the Madison Building, and Cannon House office building on Independence Avenue across from the Capitol. So that's at 1:26 they began evacuating people from around the Capitol. At 2:33, C-SPAN reports rioters have crossed Statuary Hall, the chamber that separates the House and Senate, heading for the House and Senate. So, at 1:40 p.m., I know we're going backwards here a little now, D.C. Mayor ordered a citywide curfew starting at 6 p.m. Wednesday and ending at 6 a.m. Thursday. And CNN reported that district police were asking for more law enforcement. 1:46 p.m., Democrat from Virginia, Representative Elaine Luria, she tweeted out that she was being evacuated after reports of a pipe bomb outside, and that supporters of the president are trying to force their way into the Capitol, and she can hear gunshots. There were gunshots. There was a lady that was killed. We'll get to that here in the timeline. At 2:11 p.m., rioters breached police lines in the west side of the Capitol. And even though I am having visuals on this, I suggest you go to USA Today, the link that I have in the description, and check this out for yourself. They have visuals as well and videos. So I suggest you go there and check out the story for yourself. Moments after the rioters breached the police lines on the west side of the Capitol, they begin scaling the walls. At 2:22 p.m., Vice President Mike Pence has been escorted out of the Senate chamber. At 2:24 p.m., Trump tweets, and you have to know, he may not even know at this point that this is even happening. The mainstream media was completely misreporting it, and Trump doesn't believe the mainstream media anyway, so he might not even believe what they were showing. But Trump tweets at 2:24, Mike Pence didn't have the courage to do what should have been done to protect our country and our Constitution, giving states a chance to certify a corrected set of facts, not the fraudulent or inaccurate ones which they were asked to previously certify. USA demands the truth. So President Trump still trying to fight for to stay in office even up till the end. Of course, again, I don't know if he knows at this point that there's rioters in the Capitol building or not. At 2:33, C-SPAN reports rioters have crossed Statuary Hall in the chamber that separates the House and Senate, heading for the House and Senate, which I said to you earlier. This story has it out of order. There's an extra one in there, so I apologize that I didn't see that before now. At 2:38, Trump tweets. This is where he must have been informed about what's going on at this point, because at 2:38, Trump tweets, "Please support our Capitol Police and law enforcement. They are truly on the side of our country. Stay peaceful." So even there, at 2:38, his first of 3 tweets asking people to stay peaceful. He's not calling for the overthrow of the building or the overthrow of the government. He's not inciting violence in any ways. In fact, he's telling people to stay peaceful. At 2:39 p.m., rioters are photographed breaking Capitol windows. At 2:44, shots are fired in the House chamber. There were a couple of shots fired. At 2:47, the Huffington Post reporter tweets an image of rioters saying they're in the chamber. At 2:53 p.m., Representative Alex Mooney, Republican from West Virginia, tweeted out that he was safely moved from the House chamber. He and others were given an escape hood, a respiratory hood, and mask for protection in fires or chemical accidents, which is fine. They had something to deal with. You know, the representative shouldn't have been in danger. People shouldn't have been scaling the walls. People shouldn't have been rioting, which is what I've been saying, what President Trump has been saying. Protesting is not rioting. They are different things. At 2:55, Representative Tim Burchett, Republican from Tennessee, texts shots fired. At 3:03, rioters are photographed on the Senate floor. There's a picture on the story. I'm not going to include that because I'm not trying to steal other websites' content and get in trouble for that. At 3:13 is Trump's second tweet now, second of 3 tweets while this is going on. He says, I am asking for everyone at the U.S. Capitol to remain peaceful. No violence. Remember, we are the party of law and order. Respect the law and our great men and women in blue. Thank you. So again, he's asking for people to respect the law, to stay peaceful. He is not telling people to scale the walls and overthrow anything or to enter the Capitol building whatsoever. He's asking people to remain peaceful, which at this point, it's already, unfortunately, beyond that. Most of the people in the building probably weren't even seeing President Trump's tweets at that point. So at 3:34 p.m. then, CBS reports a woman in critical condition. She was identified as Ashley Babbitt, 35. She was an Air Force veteran. Her husband was quoted as saying that she was a strong supporter of Trump. So again, this is an example of there were Trump supporters there. They obviously got caught up in the planned attack that Antifa infiltrated these protesters and then pushed it to where it got to a riot. And I'm sure that there were some Trump supporters that got caught up in it. That does not excuse them. It's just what happened, and anybody who was protesting or rioting, I'm sorry, not protesting, anybody who was rioting should be arrested. The reports were that the Secret Service and the police were telling people to get back, whether she didn't hear them or she didn't listen, and then they opened fire, killing her. There were other injuries, but I'm not sure if she was the only fatality. Oh, no, I guess there were 5 fatalities, and then there were 68 people arrested as a result of that. So, at 3:51 now, the District of Columbia National Guard has been mobilized with 1,100 troops to help support local law enforcement. At 4:05 p.m., a congressional correspondent tweets that congressional leaders are being evacuated from the Capitol, which they had been being evacuated all day at that point. A couple other people tweeted that they had already been removed, that they have already been escorted from the building. At 4:17 p.m., President Trump now tweets again. This is his third tweet while this is going on. It's a video this time. In the tweet, I'm only going to read parts of it here. We can't see the whole video because Twitter removed it, but it is quoted. Trump says, in part, I know your pain, I know your hurt. We had an election that was stolen from us. It was a landslide election, and everyone knows it, especially the other side. But you have to go home now. We have to have peace. We have to have law and order, so go home. That's very important. He's telling people to have peace, law and order, and that if you're out in the street still, to get home. That's just the way it is. And that's, and of course, nobody's reporting that. President Trump trying to keep people calm, trying to keep people from doing what they're doing. But of course, no, they want to indict him try and impeach him for a second time for inciting these riots, which clearly he did not do. And he tweeted a number of times telling people not to, and to go home and to respect law enforcement and to have peace. Twitter, of course, banned the president for 12 hours, and then it turned out to be, I'm not sure if he's gotten it back yet or not. At 8 p.m., that's when Congress reconvenes to resume counting the Electoral College votes, which we know were certified. Biden was sworn in. He took office. That's where it's at now. Biden is the president. Kamala Harris is our vice president. There's nothing that can be done about that, not right now. So at least for 2 years, they have the Congress, they have Senate, and they have the executive branch. It could be very dangerous times. Hopefully in 2 years, maybe people will wake up, or maybe states will realize that they have problems with the way they vote, and hopefully they will change it. Because each state is in charge of the election laws, so they can change things if they wanted to. So as you can see, as everything I just went over, and everything that you just saw, if you were seeing the visuals that I put up, Trump did not incite any violence whatsoever. He was asking for people to stay calm, and, at the beginning he told people to protest, not to riot. And even while people were rioting, he asked repeatedly for people to go home and to respect law enforcement. He did not incite the riots. There's no evidence of that whatsoever. So anybody out there saying it is just being false. And now in the next segment, we're going to continue talking about Twitter and other big tech and how they violated Section 230 of the United States law and the First Amendment on many fronts. And so you should tune over to Rumble. If you're watching this on YouTube, we're going to have to let you go now. Switch over to Rumble. That's where you can watch the rest of the episode. And if you're already watching on Rumble, then stay tuned. Segment 2 comes up in just a moment.